will focus on the quality of the discussion, because all this is being recorded, and the idea is to discuss these aspects of these challenges and to arrive at some kind of recommendations, suggestions and ideas, which then I will follow up with the governments of both the countries. And in that sense, this debate is very significant as it was earlier. It doesn't matter if we don't have a large audience, but I think the plus side of it is that we can also have some of the audience sort of interact and raise issues or discuss or respond. So that since all this is recorded, later we will collate it and we'll try and get the essence out, and then I will recommend it, I will forward it to the Japanese Ministry for Tourism and also the Indian Ministry of Tourism. So I'll set the ball rolling with the ladies first. Ms. Kuku Kumar, where do you think, what is it that discourages the average Japanese traveler from wanting to visit India? If they want to, there are certain factors in India which may be discouraging them. What are your thoughts on that?
You see, some of this, if you remember in the morning, it was mentioned, cleanliness was there, safety. And then they also, you know, like what they were also talking about, that the hawkers, you know, who force their sale upon them, and then the railway stations and trains, and you know, which are dirty and overcrowded. So those were some of the things. Now, when it comes to what are specifically mentioned here, then one would say that you see, in terms of infrastructure. Now, we do. I wouldn't say that. I think, you know, all the state representatives are here, and in terms of infrastructure, if in terms of roads, I think there's a huge improvement. In terms of railways, quick and fast trains, you know, there's a huge improvement. And for state facilities, there is an improvement. So I think in terms of infrastructure, we have done well, and we are doing even better. Now, in terms of language, well, that is a problem for the Japanese also, and for us also. If we visit Japan, it's as much of a problem, and if Japanese visit us, but then Japanese are known to travel in groups, and they always have their you know, big guides and translators. We also have guides and Japanese speaking people. So it's just a question of that, you know, it's putting the act together, which actually Japanese, you know, both sides are not making enough effort, I think, which now is being focused on. I think this is what I feel, that by a few interactions and meetings, this is what we are. Food, well, they are, you know, worried about the food in terms of the spices and cleanliness, whereas, you know, we have difficulty in having non-spicy food. So we have to, you know, this is just a question of culture, but then availability, that a person comes. I mean, we as Indians also, whenever we've been abroad, we also do suffer. You know, we don't get, our vegetarians don't get their food. So it's a question of managing. I'm not saying if we are trying to woo the Japanese traveler, then the food has to be popularized. I mean, that is something. And for Indians, when we go there, we also need our food. So it's both ways, you know, you have to take care of these. So these are, in terms of security, one thing is for sure, that if I know that the Japanese, you know, they travel in groups, they don't like to travel individually. And just as much, I think even Indians, you know, when we think of traveling, I mean, I'm not talking of the men, but you know, if we talk in terms of women, I think when we talk of security and safety, we usually are referring to women. And well, you know, there are by word of mouth, or there is some, we do, I'm not saying that there is no problem at all. There is, but I think that it is now come to the attention, and we are focusing on it. I think, you know, there is, definitely some steps are being taken on security. So these are some of my thoughts. And
Well,
remaining
you know,
thoughts.
I am going to risk being a little brave in this discussion. And in saying so, I would say I'm going to risk being a little honest because we have representatives from state governments, very senior people. When we talk about we are focusing on things, I'm not very sure of that. And we're not talking here about personally. As I see it as an ordinary Indian citizen, for instance, we have an annual budget of the central government and the state governments, which they are supposed to utilize as effectively as they can. The sense I get is, and I'm sharing this with the senior officials, that in our country in general, if you hear that there was a tsunami or there was an earthquake or there was a famine, the news you hear is that Minister X has announced 1,000 crore rupees for this. There is never anything to say how this 1,000 is going to be spent. What is the plan? How is it is going to be executed? And everybody thinks, oh, 1,000 crores, so the problem is solved. It's not just about releasing money. It's about actually bringing relief or bringing about the corrections and spending the money well. And I think we do not realize that we feel that we have a budget of 50 crores in a state, that oh, we spent 50 crores, but how was it spent? We're talking about how creatively or what was the impact of the tools that were used to, market tourist destinations. I think there needs to be a focus on that. It's not just about how much money is spent. And unfortunately, the sense I get is that even at the highest levels of the government, we find the leadership saying, oh well, they would take an aerial tour of the flood affected area and then just land and say, 2,000 crores for Assam, 3,000. That is not solving the problem. And again, the same old story about 10 paise actually being effectively spent, and 90 we know where it goes and how it goes. So, we have gems, as I was saying earlier, in terms of the destinations for tourists in India. Magnificent things, which a lot of Indians themselves don't know. That's why I deliberately mentioned Belur and Helipad, because those are, I think, extraordinary places, and there are many like that.
I just want to mention here, all the state representatives who are sitting here. Personally, I can vouch for that these states at the moment, whether it's Karnataka, whether it is Madhya Pradesh, at least in terms of infrastructure, availability of, everything for the tourists is there. But only thing is, and at the moment, all the states are also competing in terms of getting tourists. They are, for the moment, I think, happy that, because they have enough Indian tourists happening and they're promoting. Now the question is where we get the foreigners, foreign tourists to come in. That's what we want.
Yes, Mr. Varma.
See, now, since we are talking of both ways, the Indo-Japan and Japan-India, I would just like to, in contrast to what incoming India, just a couple of points I would like to mention. That Japan is such a beautiful country, and I must say in 1972, sir, was my first time when I went to Japan on my honeymoon trip. I don't know how many people have gone, and I can never forget after that I've been 10 times to Japan. Also, so we must look at any country, like any trade, import and export, and tourism also should work both ways. But unfortunately, the Indians' growth outbound is growing so much, but not to Japan, because there are also, we must see what are the reasons. One is the connectivity. Yes, we have good connectivity now, at least there are 3 airlines going. But the airfare is expensive. Minimum ticket is about 52,000, 53,000, Delhi, Tokyo, Delhi. So the price element, the Japanese side, whether the JTB, whether the tour operator of Japan, must look into the price element of when Indians are going there. They are not very competitive. although Japan might be slightly less expensive than it was 10 years back, but yet compared to other destinations, the price is more. Second is, they are not very adjustable. The food problem, except in Tokyo and Osaka and other places, there is a problem of the Indian food, which they must have to look after. And also, there are, they are not doing their roadshow, their promotion actually into India, into big towns, smaller places, into smaller states. They are not really going into it to motivate more Indian tour operators, to motivate or to public to bring to Japan. Visa is another problem, yet although there have been very much improvements recently, in the last year or so, there are improvements, yes, but still need to be more little flexible. And then there is adjustment is one thing, whether, like when Indians go, you go after the 7 hours flight, 8 hours to land in the morning, their hotel check-in time is very late, 4 o'clock. So Indians are taken into sightseeing after the whole trip, long trip, and then check-in in the hotels later on. So these are a few points where otherwise if we take care of these certain points, there is a growth potential. Indians would like to go to Japan, experience a beautiful country, beautiful people, friendly people, all that. They have a culture, they have an Indian, we have a lot of similar points. But certain these few things, if Japanese side looks into more positively, they will see many more Indians going there. I just thought to complete this side.
Basically, tourism is a state subject, and when we look at the panel out here, we have got Gujarat, Maharashtra, we have got Madhya Pradesh, and younger brother Chhattisgarh. We have to look from the perspective of if a country like Japan is promoting its tourism in India, or people going from here to that side, or that they are coming from this side. It's basically the infrastructure. Infrastructure has to be the backbone of your any product, any destination you're trying to promote. Like we have got Sirpur in Chhattisgarh. Now it has to be combined with Sarnath or Sachi or whatever other states have, or a circuit. It has to be an integrated form of promotion. You build a product in terms of infrastructure, and then you promote that in a circuit form, in an integrated approach. It has to be a combination of spots. Like we have done in Chhattisgarh. With Sirpur, we have combined Barnopara Sanctuary, a wildlife, which is half an hour drive from there. So it has, what I'm trying to say that you build a class, there are two types of Japanese tourists. Basically one who can stay in the dormitories and one who can stay in the 5 stars. So now, we are not to differentiate between a foreigner or a domestic traveler. We have got ample of variety into that, and even Indians are traveling a lot now and using the 5-star facilities as well as the dormitory facilities. So you have to build a proper infrastructure, build a product, and then you can market. The market should be not only one state. I have seen many states, they are taking their own stalls, promoting their structure. We are talking about Japan now. We are talking about certain other country also, which is coming to this country and going. They are confused basically. And while landing at Delhi, where they will go now? They are going to go to Sarnath, they are going to go to Sachi, they are going to go to Raipur, Sirpur, or they are going to go to Maharashtra, Gujarat, where will they go? So concentrated effort should be from Government of India that we prepare a circuit, either a Buddhist circuit. Don't talk about only Bihar of a Buddhist circuit. There are many places in India which are connected with Buddhism. So make a concentrated effort of preparing a circuit, and it has to be the responsibility of the Government of India of promoting that circuit. They can take the inputs, they can take the help of the state governments. But put your product in order, and then market it in an integrated form. That's what I use.
Thank you. Mr. Tiwari, thank you very much. For Maharashtra, I'll speak about Maharashtra in a moment, and then we come to India as Sab has suggested. The most important part is we just recently found that India, and especially Maharashtra, has been on the mind of Japanese for a long time. We need to tell the market. On a recent trip to Japan, on 15 days tour, wherein we had a memorandum of understanding of the Japanese government and the Maharashtra government. in the Wakayama prefecture. We were surprised to see that the kind of interest these people have in coming to our country is tremendous. At the same time, like the topic which we have put in for panel discussion, language, food and connectivity, infrastructure too. Infrastructure at times doesn't mind, but what minds at the moment is what are the areas they are interested in and how do we bring them there, here. A few, apart from a quantum, a pocket full of people who are doing this business in Japan, especially in areas which are not represented. When we look at Japan, we don't go beyond Tokyo or we don't go beyond Kyoto. But like I told you, that we had been to the Koyasan temple town, we had been to Wakayama city, Shirihama city, and these are some of the best places, and people from there are interested in coming. And Buddhism is not only the product they are interested in. Now things have gone, with the kind of younger generation coming in from Japan, tests have changed, the patterns have shifted, and we have to look at that. Maharashtra as such, after having this memorandum of understanding with the government of Wakayama prefecture, we have exchange of tourism now, and we have been fairly successful in that. And we are also trying to see that how these corridors of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Orissa, which are the Buddhist tourism corridors, maintained. The most important part is now recently that out of this 1,000 caves which we have, and there was a problem with the infrastructure in Maharashtra. So we came up with something very interesting, a man-made attraction which you should have heard about. On 16 September, Honorable Tourism Minister of India and Honorable Chief Minister of Maharashtra inaugurated this wonderful facility, especially with the Japanese in mind, as far as the foreign travelers, also now the domestic travelers, which is the Ajanta Visitor Center, and the second is the Ellora Visitor Center. These are man-made structures. They are the biggest visitor centers in the world. And they have been inaugurated recently, and they have been a hit with the Japanese tourists. And this year, although the number of Japanese have reduced, but we have bookings for the next year in big numbers. That's one. Next is golf. We are concentrating on golf, and we are having a very big golf tourism, a golf club being built in Aurangabad. And the third, with the Japanese help. And the third most important part, because I should cut short my discussion, is nature and scenery. Like the JNTO presentation clearly said that 60% people, almost 58 or 60% people are interested in scenery and wildlife and all those areas, and 45% in monuments. We're trying to maintain that. And one more thing of discovery was that Ajanta and Ellora are being taught in schools in Japan. We have the copies of textbook as evidences. And there has been a big interest. Out of the 1,000 caves which we have, out of the 1,200 caves in the country, where Buddhism was being persecuted, and we were trying to preserve, practice, and promote it in 1,000 years of those times. There's a big interest. But yes, we need to study this market in detail, and language connectivity has been a major issue. I should agree to that. But yes, we are also successful with that. And Maharashtra has gone solo. But like he said, Sir said, that we should have an integrated tourism plan for promoting Indian tourism to Japan.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. I found that Japanese tourists, generally they are religious. They just go to Buddha and that part of it. We have one place, Sanchi, which is in Madhya Pradesh. But that is only the place of their interest. So they generally avoid that, almost say very few percentage of those are coming to Madhya Pradesh because of Sanchi. Of course, language problem is there. We have some guides, but they are based in Khajuraho. That is our main tourist place. Infrastructure, we are good enough because Bhopal is well connected with the train, with air connectivity. So, and Sanchi is close to Bhopal. It's about 50 kilometers. We have 3 World Heritage Sites like Sanchi, Bhimbetka, and Khajuraho. But we cannot connect at a time Khajuraho and Sanchi together. And I believe that they don't have much interest in Khajuraho. So they just go to Sanchi. They are very much interested. Otherwise, they just go to both there. That is what they are doing. But we are also planning for golf tourism in Sanchi. So we are going to make some golf tours for that. So let's see in future if we'll get that.
Gujarat basically, as far as Japanese are concerned, we are very late entrants because they are religious, they look towards visiting Buddhist sites. Now that we have excavated certain sites of Buddhist relics, caves, we are getting small groups, basically down to Junagadh. Air connectivity, we have got the nearest airport being Rajkot. And then there is, as my colleagues have said, there is a younger generation of Japanese who are visiting not only for religious, but they have other interests. For example, we do get younger generation who are basically interested in different textiles, like patolas, tie and dye bandhani. So what happens is this textile interest groups, they arrive in Ahmedabad and we take them over to the museum and to the weavers, which they are very much interested in. I'm told that they copy these designs and they manufacture large scale machineries using various fast and machines. So what we actually were looking at was good connectivity. We do have good airports, airfields, and rail connections also. Infrastructure, yes, we have been upgraded by outsourcing, giving a single point license to hoteliers, transporters, and travel agents. As far as the security is concerned, our very own people, our women go to temples between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. So safe in Gujarat. You have other issues of language. We have had in our universities, we have got language courses and we give trained language guides to accompany them so that they don't have to bring from Delhi or Mumbai. International airports also, we have got now, we have started few flights coming in direct to Ahmedabad. So by and large, we've been even upgraded for the menu also by having special Japanese menu for these groups. Although we have very own vegetarian chefs cooking Gujarati, but as they prefer their own food, so we have trained chefs. Similarly, when our people go to Japan, we also request them that we have a proper vegetarian kitchen and vegetarian food, because Gujaratis, as you know, wherever they go, they prefer to have their own cuisine, their own menu. And in some cases, if that is not possible, we send our chefs a day earlier to cater to the food. So I think it takes effort on both the sides to see that guests are happy. Last but I'd like to say one thing is President Subhash Goyal and President Subhash Verma-ji both have supported Gujarat throughout, and we'd like to thank them at this stage for all the assistance they've given.
So I think Gujarat has also supported all the travel agents and tourism.
See, this one is another
About the food, you see, Gujaratis were known ever since I've been in the travel trade. And why? Because Gujaratis used to travel and they love their food, so they used to take their cook with them. This is a known fact. Right from the beginning, whenever we were selling tours and sending them abroad, if it is a Gujarati group, you give a cook and you take her tour wherever you want. All right.
I wish to briefly mention regarding that recently I'm also representing FAITH. It is a federation of all 10 national associations of India. Come first time, the voice of industry all together. I'm the only secretary. What we, the Ministry of Tourism, to promote tourism into India, has done a lot of efforts, and there still need to be more. But there is a lacking, because what happened, the Ministry of Tourism has further much less power. They have to go to Ministry of Commerce, they have to go to Ministry of Finance for all these things. So first time we as FAITH are going to those Commerce Ministry and Finance Ministry. You will be surprised that how they are keen as a Finance Ministry to know what are the visas problem, what are the, not beyond Home Ministry and Tourism. There is a RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which FAITH is now, we are given a note to Ministry of Commerce. These are USA, but these 15 countries, India, Japan is one ranking in that. So how to promote tourism via the trade, via business avenues to have more. We Japanese companies can come and invest in the tourism sectors here, themselves in Bodh Gaya, which is needed. Or Indians people, suppose tomorrow state of Maharashtra wants to go to Japan and tie up with somebody to promote their state, with a Japanese company to promote their state in Japan. It's a business but tourism. So these are the new innovative ideas. We must look into it and they will work. I have, knowing Japan, once if a state of Gujarat or something goes with tie up with one company in Japan, they want to promote their state, they will seriously look into it as a partnership and it will have very good results.
From tourism, Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu stands for tradition, heritage and tranquility. It has a variety of tourism attractions starting from temples, beaches, hill stations, a lot of cave temples which is luring Japan tourists. We handled a lot of Japan satisfied groups and gave them all kinds of assistance. We have good infrastructure and we are planning to improve to the world-class standard to lure more tourists. And regarding food, we have very traditional, spicy, and it is very tastier, loved by everyone. Even though there are tourists who come from North India, they want their own food to have it in Tamil Nadu. Actually, it is my practical experience. So when a tourist come to my place, they are asking for, I want only this food and that food. I will say, be a Roman while you are in Rome. And we are ready to give all these things. We have a lot of tours from Delhi itself, and we are taking the tourists from here, from Bombay, Calcutta, Bhubaneswar, and even from Ahmedabad. We have very good tourists from Ahmedabad. And we are giving them all kind of foods and it is running satisfactorily. And regarding language, Tamilians, they don't know, mostly they don't know Hindi language because of anti-Hindi program in Tamil Nadu. You all know. Now it is improving. We have Hindi classes and in languages also, in schools it is improving. We are giving all kinds of assistance to the tourists. And those who are coming to North India and other places, foreign countries also, they are now getting all kinds of help. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, well,
Safety-wise, I think Tamil Nadu is also.
It is very good. We have
you know, please.
In terms of safety for.
in terms of safety, it is very less in comparative to all other states. I cannot say wrong with another state. It is good in Tamil Nadu. We have very less
well, you know,
security.
one of the topics for tomorrow, which I had suggested, but I do not know whether that gentleman will be here to speak on it, is that is tourism basically an underestimated sector? What I think is missing is, as is generally the case in our country, common sense. I'm sorry, as I said at the outset, I'm going to be a little honest and brutal and straightforward because unless we question ourselves and have the ability to realize our shortcomings, we're not going to get anywhere. Now, isn't tourism, I feel, an underestimated sector? It not only has the power of raising revenue, but the power of bringing people together. As I mentioned in my foreword this morning, that you can have as many treaties and agreements with nations, which would be of no use. Whereas if you focus on tourism and bringing in lots of people from different parts of the world, that would foster better bonds and much more durable bonds. So in that sense, tourism, at least in our country, is considered to be, you know, isko bhi 1000 finance minister thinks 1000 crore isko de do yaar. But there is no application of mind, there is no thinking behind it, you know, and we have a bright officers who are sitting in their offices in the state governments, who wish to be creative, who wish to do things, but the whole, from top down, the whole method of doing it is sad.
So actually now, I mean in the last, I would say few years, which is about 3 to 5 years, you know, there's the associations, I have my friends sitting here, Mr. Goel, you know, we have all created such a noise that the government has actually started, you know, paying heed to it. Each state government is taking it seriously. It is obvious, you know, that they are looking at it. The only thing is that we also been requesting for that, you know, and because of, you know, it should be a PPE model, you know, which means that the state governments themselves, you know, whatever they maintain, you know, when that is a government thing, but I think working along with, you know, the tour operators and all the, you know, state reps who are sitting here, we can say, I mean, we can say that they have worked with us so closely and they've supported us, all the tour operators, and we feel that, well, I think that it is a win-win situation both ways and it's going to happen. Now with Japan, we had a little like, I know that I had been dealing with Japan 15 years ago and there was so much of traffic and you know, Japan, you know Indians, when earlier, I remember when we were, you know, 15, 20 years back, we used to talk about Japan and people used to think of such nice things, you know, the ikebana, the art, the beautiful paintings and their dresses, you know, kimonos, all that used to come to our mind, to each and every Indian's mind. You know, it was like that. But suddenly, I think because either they also withdrew, other countries became aggressive, our own infrastructure, our own, you know, this systems became so good that, you know, Indians started loving to travel within their own countries, discovering India themselves. You know, these are some of the things I think where we have. But still, I mean, they are our friends and have been friends for so long. I think this can be revived both ways. It can be revived.
The problem is that tomorrow is a MOU being signed by Government of Japan and Government of India, Ministry of Tourism. The problem with this country is that, as I told you earlier, tourism is a state subject. Every state is doing its own. Everybody, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and other states. And there is no cohesion. Central government never talks to the state governments. What exactly is to be done while promoting Indo-Japan Expo? We just come here, participate in the functions and just go back. But the suggestions are never taken from the state governments. Tour operators, travel agents and other people, they come in later on. First, it has to be a coordinated effort from the state governments and the central government. They should sit together before organizing this expo or doing an MOU, they should talk with the state government. It's not flying from Tokyo to Delhi and going back. They have to travel in this country. And when you travel in this country, you have to go to the states. Then you talk about security, then you talk about languages, then you talk about other things. What I was trying to emphasize, it has to be, a product has to be defined in a circular form of manner. The spots have to be combined. And what are the integrities into that? Whatever basic infrastructures, basic problems which are facing there, that has to be put in order by a combination of effort from Government of India and state governments. Then FAM2 people, the travel agent, tour operators, they come into picture of marketing that product and taking it to Japan or bringing it from Japan. So that has to be looked into. That should be the advice from this forum through Mr. Tiwari. So it can go to Government of India, to the Secretary and whoever people are signing an MOU. Otherwise, Maharashtra will be keep on promoting its side of Ajanta and Ora. Madhya Pradesh will be doing for Sanchi, we will be doing for Sirpur and other states there, and they will be talking directly to Japan and nothing will come into it. Because all the problems they start when you land up in Delhi. And then Government of India comes and then the state government comes. So it has to be a coordinated effort of all the agencies which are connected with it. Otherwise, just signing an MOU, they have signed many MOUs with many countries, but it doesn't make a difference.
I think taking cue from you, I appreciate and endorse your views, Tiwari, that tourism as such, our own country, our government has not taken seriously as an industry. And this is the only tool for poverty elevation, this is the only tool for employment generation and national integration and universal. Terrorism versus tourism is my slogan normally, I say. But sir, I
I agree with you. But when you go to center, we as an association, I tell you, they always say it is a state matter. So you as state first declare in your state, I don't know whether you have done, a lot of states have done, Karnataka has done, to declare tourism as industry status. You start with, you have the right to do that. So please do that first and you'll see more aggressive and center will follow you.
Problem is that, Mr. Verma, nobody is aware what is tourism as industry means what. There are no guidelines. There are no guidelines. What incentives? Basically, hoteliers say that declare as an industry and give us incentives. Everybody is interested in their incentives. So put that in order first. Government of India should come out with the charter of that. Okay, these are the norms, these are the intensive and incentive policy to be given, and it should be circulated to everybody. None of the states, when we want to declare tourism as an industry in our state or other state, we ask other states, what you have done in your state. And they say that we have just declared it as an industry. Whatever you want to do, you do it on your own. So everything has to be black and white defined. So you do that and separate it to every state. Every state wants, Mr. Verma, take from me that every state wants to declare it as an industry. They want to give the incentives, what the trade wants, but there is no guidance.
I'd like to react to Mr. Sanjay Singh. Basically, state subject, we are under the Ministry of Industries, Government of Gujarat. Tourism is a part coming under the ministry. But when we dealt with Government of India, as he rightly said, there has to be a coordination. Whether it's a festival or whether it's policy making, we had in fact sat with Government of India to work together. For example, when we had at least 26 international kite festivals, we did work with Incredible India, and I'd like to put on record that in the last two festivals we did in Delhi, our chief guest was Mr. Subhash Verma. Government of India assisted us, Government of Gujarat, together with the industry, we did at the Central Park. Yes, but the states are so many, we need to sit across a table and then we definitely get backup from Government of India. So I like to place on record, not only Government of India, but the associations also play a very important role for working together for success. And that's the Gujarat success story.
The right partners, because today that is a position. I think so.
I would like to come on here and say that we are all at fault, but we are also correct at the same time. It took us so many years to have the first Indo-Japan Expo meet.
This is the first ever.
Yeah, so it took us so many years to have this first Indo-Japan Expo meet. So there are certain things which we are all at fault, but we did not have the main system and all that coming up. But I would like to suggest and take you to the other track, and request you. See, you have to upgrade. You may build a Taj Mahal again, all right? But you can't have, the ambience or the sanctity of that place being brought. What a tourist is looking for is not a 5-star bathroom. You know it very well. Everybody talks about it. You are a grandfather of talking that. All right. But what I tell you now, from today's JNPO presentation, what I gather is what a Japanese tourist needs is attentiveness. He needs your attention altogether. He needs punctuality. He needs cleanliness. And apart from, we miss all this. Because like you say, it is underestimated. Yes, it is underestimated, but we have to upgrade our skills. In our colleges, they don't teach you how to be attentive. They teach you how to touch your mobile phone in the pocket. Isn't it? So that's one thing. Secondly, this is all about cross-culturalism. We need to undergo classes for cross-culturalism at this stage. Learn about ethics in tourism. Learn about legal aspects, regulatory monitoring aspects in tourism. And that is what I believe that this can be done. And let me tell you, better late than never kind of a thing. But I have joined. I come from I was working with the United Nations earlier and have joined Maharashtra Tourism recently in the top category of the first 4 officers. Just became a deputy general manager, and we have seen I'm particularly looking into this, that we are the most attentive. My coming is a result of this itself, and we have already taken cognizance. If you are seeing the morning today, I was here at 8. I met everybody, A to Z, all 23 representatives. We gave them our brochures and everything. But yes, we would like to, Mr. Tiwari, there's one more thing which we need to do is, it is a consolidated effort, I agree to it. But even at pockets, need to do a lot of sustained effort needs to be done. We need to do sustained efforts. sustained efforts is all the result as far as Japan market is concerned. What I believe, or the Far East market, we are doing very well with South Korea now, the Republic of Korea, for our state. Huge numbers of people coming directly from Korea because of the Korean air connectivity. With Japan, I tell you, what a Japanese tourist, why he is not coming to our country or as such to this place. It is all the result of attentiveness. If people understand things, we can build everything, but we can't have that. It's like talking, about, there was a tour guide in Aurangabad. He was one of the best tour guides celebrated in the world. And he always spoke best of language, and he was multilingual, Spanish, Japanese, French, and Hindi, and Marathi, and English. And then, everybody, he did everything, A to Z of it, the best of all possible. At the end of it, and explained everything, the caves and everything, and in his English commentary, he always said in the last, is it clear? Is it clear? So what he said, for the story of 15 minutes went down the drain. Because every tourist came and asked him, what did you say? He said, is it clear? So he said, we have not heard of this, what is clear?
Yeah.
He wanted to say clear, but he couldn't say clear. So he said, it's clear. So it goes like that. As what people are observing, in tourism people are observing what you do. And in tourism, there's one more thing I would like to tell you, because you told me, be frank and clear. You cannot fool people. You cannot fool this. You have to deliver, and your delivery skills have to be upgraded. You have the best of products. This is a country of miracles. We can do miracles. We have just done a miracle on 19th January, the whole of India. It went unnoticed. We have had the end of polio. This country could do the polio. Alright, do away with the polio. We can do it with tourism also. Like you said, yes, it needs to be upgraded and not underestimated as such.
Have you heard that today tourists coming into India need a polio vaccination?
Wonderful. See, this is an achievement, I should say. This is a very achievement. Very nice.
It may be polio free, but then you can't expect that your tourists, they are not going to come here if they need a polio vaccine. There is so many things.
Like this, what I was trying to say, I was trying to give an example. This country has the power of doing anything.
Yes.
At the bus stations, at every place.
You had this polio booths.
You see, let's say Atithi Devo, I take it. Beside the states are doing so much, you people are doing so much, government is doing associations. Another point is that any for incoming tourists, everybody on the road and average Indian citizen is our ambassador. Atithi Devo means the smiling face, taking care. That is actually not the case. This is very sad that culture of India, if you really be honest about it, our spiritual country, our cultural heritage rich, but unfortunately you go to Thailand, you go to Japan, you go to, whether sometime in West they will give an artificial smile, but they will smile at you. But here, every Indian citizen, very few are there, they are not such that is what is needed.
Sorry, just a second, please. Because what Sir says, what Verma Sahab said, you see, I told you he's grandfather of tourism now. So what I mean to say is that, really, I tell you, you don't need festivals, You can't do what I'm doing in Maharashtra or other places. The whole of country is a festival. The people should be in a mood. And the mood is called as the tourism mood. And if that happens, we don't need any festival. The whole country is a festival as such. That's what my idea. I just want to superimpose with what Sir said.
No, every moment is a celebration actually is happening in India.
I'd like to mention. I disagree with you with regard to festival because no doubt we are all having a very festival time throughout the year, but we realize in the state of Gujarat that we have a festival every month. We thought by promoting this festival, we would get people, the year-round tourists who have something special to do. Like we had this Ran Utsav, Madam was so much interested to come to Gujarat because you have a festival every month. You can club together your business visit, your holiday, your leisure with something happening. Why a festival? Because in a festival you have local people, local culture, promoting a region, and last,
Anything you
yes.
No, apart from that.
And as a target, why we are doing this is, there's something behind it. The thing is, by promoting festival, by promoting tourism, people who come there from India and abroad, later become an investor. They start an industry. Unlike certain states where certain areas are earmarked for industries, we have in every district earmarked areas for putting up industry. So what has happened by them coming for festival, from them coming, they realize a state where you have 24 hours power, 24 hours water, no union problems, single window clearance means single window. Unlike some states where you go to a single window, you find many jarukas. No, it's a single window. So what we learned was we could get a lot of investment. And investment, incidentally, is inversely proportional to the development of the state. And that's how every district, even a district of Kutch, which is a white desert, which has undergone an earthquake, now there's so much industries. The people, the local people, even in the villages, at least one of them is earning around 10,000 rupees per month. They don't have to migrate from there. So what we've been able to do is to keep the local people in the same area without migration, put up industries. At the same time, we ensure the industries that are coming up should be self-sufficient with power, and they should have medical facilities and also education facilities, so that the villages around get the support of that industry. So I think it's the way we think how we could use a model. Perhaps for us, festivals has been really good.
Right, anybody wants to
Yes,
raise something from the audience?
We have 5 travel agents who have come from, especially from Maharashtra. Please speak.
make it interactive session rather than.
You could come onto the mic or take a mic.
Is any
there was a suggestion that all the, 4 states of the south had come together and they said that they promote tourism together. So perhaps, the states which are newly formed states
who have in terms of tourism don't realize, okay, we knew Madhya Pradesh, we knew that state, we know what all is there. But whatever you have got in your legacy, for instance, because you're here from Chhattisgarh, it's always nice that you're saying that central government should look into it. But the state governments of the south, they got together, they said that all the 4 states got together, and then they were, trying to promote routes which, connect all the 4 states in the tourism.
I think the states today, I know as from domestic tourism, all states today are very aggressive, very attentive. They are doing their best, all the states, because I am more concerned being a domestic tourism heading it's for it that all states are very aware and doing their best. There is no doubt about it. That is for sure. More of happening in domestic tourism. The results are there. Of course, one always has to be a process journey. Want to do more, but states are very aggressive.
Like we have circuits, for instance, the Golden Triangle. So if 2-3 states were
Sure,
close to
sure.
each other and bordering, and they, some kind of
Naturally.
circuit can be created, and that you see, obviously you have to involve
The interstate job is
travel
to more done.
agents. There is no doubt you have to involve them. They are the ones who are going to sell.
That is what the coordination between government of India and state governments is required. Because when you're trying to promote anything from overseas, then it has to be a coordination with the central government. You cannot do without. People are doing it, but it's a much more effort is needed in that. It has to be government of India who should take the responsibility.
Now, when you travel in Europe, you see all those tour packages you get actually involve other countries. You set out on a coach and you see 6-7 countries.
Yes.
You just cross the borders, and all those companies have tied up. They've got a beautiful thing. And in 1 week, you touch so many different rates for different packages. You have nothing like this here. It's that kind of thing. And each state government can take its countries share the revenue from that depending on.
Yes, everybody benefits.
Interstate seamless travel is so lacking in our country. Once you go from Germany to Holland, different countries, you don't need to look at any octroi, any checkposts like this. But here, unfortunately, our own country, I was not saying, but it's a fact that within states traveling is so hazardous for Indians, forget about the foreigners. And 2 hours standing here to pay the tax and all those things. This is something which I cannot understand and has to be done like Mr. Kumar said, the interstate, 4 states of north, 4 of the south, sit together and that should be done, terminated.
I'd like to add on this issue was quite rightly said by President Mr. Verma that if we have to work networking with the states, we'll have to work together. Then only it will be successful. Center, yes, when we want to work interstate and with the center, we'll have to sit across the table with all of them and decide. There was a project which in the state of Gujarat we started, a luxury train. It was basically the meter gauge palace on wheels. We got it commissioned as the Royal Orient. And Petit India was one of our GSAs who have been selling us this train. He did very well at that point of time. Now, in that we sat across with Government of India, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Railways, and interstate with Tourism Department of Haryana, Rajasthan, and Gujarat, and Delhi. Because the train had to start from Delhi, Kant, we had to go via Haryana, we used to cover Udaipur and Jaipur, and then go to Gujarat, to the various sectors like Ahmedabad, Sonal, Sasangir. So, the only thing we, to work together was we sat with Incredible India, with their officials and other state tourism boards, and they not only helped us in way of giving us backup in their respective states, they even offered us, for example, Rajasthan said that you could use our buses, we will give you our staff, we will give our guides. So I think what is very important is these things can be only trashed out if we sit across with the various people and work together. And again, associations came together to help us. Associations because they have the international connections. These are all, we used to sell at $200 per night. So we need to have a good market for it. And it was this associations of the travel trade that promoted the product. So you're right in a way that we had to sell as a group, as a region, joining together. And the Royal Orient itinerary was really sellable because it had Rajasthan and Gujarat also in it. You can't have a standalone this thing. Of course, the meter gauge line was not going to Agra. If not, I would have had UP also in it. So this is, yes, we have to work together for success. Otherwise, standalone, no, we cannot.
In this context, what we have done recently, I would give the example of Madhya Pradesh, Goa and Maharashtra. In Madhya Pradesh, which is the last post of Madhya Pradesh, which is very close to Ajanta caves, is Burhanpur. And in Burhanpur, you will be surprised at the Burhanpur resort, which is called as Tapti. So in the Madhya Pradesh holiday resort at Burhanpur, it is not about Burhanpur. There's nothing about Burhanpur which is written there. It's all about Ajanta in Maharashtra. So vice versa, we have done at Ajanta. We have done it with Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh tourism. Same we have done accomplished with Goa tourism and also with Andhra Pradesh tourism recently. We have had our MOUs and all that. It is like saying, you know, when somebody doesn't listen at the top, so we all get together and do it. So we will do it again, and I'm sure it's like saying many colors, it's like saying many people, many colors, many problems, and many solutions. Thank you.
Very well said.
Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.